Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm going to show you guys how my upper split took me from looking like this and turned me into something like this. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. There's no way a split changed the physique so drastically in such a short amount of time. However, in this video, I'm literally going to give you the blueprint to do exactly what I did. For my specific blueprint, the things that I wanted to focus on the most were going to be my side delts, the long head of my triceps, and overall a good shape of my arms. So how can you grab this blueprint and do the exact same thing for the things that you want to focus on? Well, it all starts with the split like upper-lower. Now, a lot of people are skeptical of upper-lower because they're used to things like push-pull legs. However, I lean towards the idea that higher frequency, as well as harder pushes for stimulus of hypertrophy, is going to be better for muscle growth in the long term. Why is this the case? Why can't you just go to the gym a couple times a week, stimulate hypertrophy, and do a crazy amount of sets? The idea lies in the idea that fatigue is actually very detrimental to muscle growth. So doing things like 20 to 30 sets every single week, even with proper rest, can lead to disadvantages in hypertrophy and therefore in muscle gain. That's why upper-lower is going to be the superior split. Even though you're working out the specific muscles more often in a week, you're actually doing less. So instead of doing 2 crazy sets of, let's just say, chest on Monday and then on Friday, instead you're breaking it down and doing, say, 4 sets on Monday and then another 4 sets on Thursday and then another 4 sets, say, on Saturday, giving you more rest but higher amounts of stimulated hypertrophy. I think a common misconception is the idea that less volume and more rest is actually going to equal less growth. However, this couldn't be farther from the truth. It's actually quite the opposite. Muscle growth actually works like this. When a muscle is challenged or stressed enough, it induces chemicals or a reaction or a chain reaction that tells your muscles to grow. So adding more volume to this is not going to give more of a reaction. It's actually going to tear the muscle apart more. And this is actually a really big problem because you actually can't add more stimulus. It's like trying to start a car when the key is already in the ignition and started. The car started. Driving it anymore or trying to move that key is going to break your starter. It's going to break anything within the car. The same thing works for muscle growth. Once the stimulus has already been adding, trying to do any more is going to damage the muscle. And muscle damage can actually hinder hypertrophy. Therefore, we want to create the highest stimulus with the least amount of fatigue, or aka muscle damage. So how do you start upper-lower? And what are the first things to program within your split? Well, it's actually easy. Ask yourself the question, what is lacking? What are the things that I want to bring up? What are the muscles that I don't really care about growing too much right now? If this is something that you can answer, then you know exactly what you need to grow. Once you know exactly what muscle or muscles you want to target first, you need to put them at the beginning of your split. The reason for this is because your central nervous system can only output so much before it's fatigued. So putting the muscles that you want to start or grow the most are going to get the most and therefore most benefit out of starting the freshest, aka the beginning of your workout. I mean, just think about it. It's almost counterintuitive to want to focus the biceps and then go do back, and then go do a rowing movement, and then go do something that involves the biceps. Your biceps are going to be totally fatigued, and your body's going to be tired by the time you get to, say, those dumbbell curls, or those preacher curls. And then when you get there, you're going to be all tired and sluggish, and you're not going to really get as much as you want out of your biceps as if you had trained them originally and first. Now that we know what we're going to focus on, let's talk about sets and reps. Well, first things first, in an upper-lower split, I recommend each and every single person either do 2 sets to 1 set. Now, I know 1 set can sound unorthodox. However, studies show that 1 set taken hard enough can actually induce good amounts of hypertrophy. However, if you feel uncomfortable doing only 1 set, then 2 sets will certainly suffice. As a matter of fact, 2 sets can be recommended personally by me, and even doing 2 sets in the first place is not going to fatigue your muscles enough to counteract what we were talking about earlier in terms of muscle damage to counteracting muscle hypertrophy. So feel free to do 2 sets on pretty much every single muscle on the upper body or whatever that you're specifically trying to train. So how do we structure a split like this on a weekly basis? Me personally, I do upper-lower rest, upper-lower, upper. What this does is it allows me to have 2 rest days throughout the week, but hit my upper body 3 times, which is going to give, as I said earlier, that higher frequency to muscle stimulus and therefore higher amounts of hypertrophy. Not only this, but every single time that you stimulate your muscles to grow, there is a 36 to 48 hour amount of potential muscle growth that can occur. Meaning, by the time that my muscles are essentially stopping their growth, I'm already training them again by stimulating them in the gym for a 3rd or 2nd upper day. Meaning I am continuously in a state of growth and never in a state of atrophy. So in layman's terms, I'm essentially never in a state of losing muscle and constantly in a state of building. And even if you're trying to focus on, let's just say, strength, Upper lower is going to be a beautiful split for that too. As a matter of fact, most powerlifters will take higher amounts of days off of the gym due to a simple reason: tendon repair. Tendon repair is extremely crucial when it comes to lifting heavy weights and putting up PRs. So I'm sure you'll be glad to know, anyone out there who's a power lifter or looking to put up a lot more within their strength gains, upper lower is going to allow you to do that. And even me personally, when I was running upper lower in the gym, and currently all my lifts were going up. Every single week I would notice that I'm progressively overloading, and that was a clear sign to me that I was not only building muscle, but that I was obviously growing in strength. And the same thing goes for your guys' lower days. And the lower days for me are going to be a little less detailed, as I only do them twice a week. And the same thing still stands. Whatever you're trying to focus in, say on your legs, like your quads, or your hamstrings, or your abductors, you're going to want to do them first. And the same amount of sets applies as well. For me, I recommend 2 sets for most of your legs, and maybe just 3 sets for your quads, as they're kind of a bigger muscle and can honestly be repaired in a more timely manner than, say, your hamstrings. As a matter of fact, your hamstrings are very easily damaged, and even just doing 1 set could possibly make them sore. Now let's talk about rep ranges. Now rep ranges are going to be a little bit more personal. However, there is objectivity to rep ranges. Now let's be honest, hypertrophy can be stimulated in rep ranges from literally 6 all the way up to 30. So now the preference really stands on practicality. Is it worth sitting there doing 30 reps of, say, a really small muscle? Or is it worth picking up something a little bit heavier and pushing that to failure in less reps? I think the answer is very clear. It's worth picking up, say, something really heavy, even though it may be a little bit more fatiguing, and doing anywhere from 6 to 10 reps with that specific amount of weight, and getting to your failure way quicker. So to summarize, repage is going to be pretty much based off of preference. However, I would totally and personally recommend that you guys do anywhere from 6 to 10 reps. 6 to 8 is kind of that golden area. However, some muscles, like let's just say the delts, require a little bit more repage, while things like the back, or let's just say the chest, are better with movements, say like from 6 to 8 reps. So again, totally based on preference, and honestly, I recommend experimenting with it and explore what you guys totally feel is better for you. And ultimately, not to sound like a pseudo knowledge guy, but even though we can give you the blueprint, a lot of it is going to come down to what you guys can personally find works for you. Obviously, I would consider myself a science-based lifter. However, a lot of my lifting comes from experience and not just studies. Studies give us the idea, but we have to go out into the field or the gym and totally find what works for us, what's going to be comfortable, and what movements we like. And not only that, but what's the best answer for whether or not what we're doing is correct? Well, guys, it's results. If your guys are getting results on another split, I totally recommend staying with that split. However, give upper lower a try. Try it out maybe for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and see your strength shoot up. I'm telling you. The minute I hopped on upper lower was the exact moment, or at least area in my gym journey, when I really started to blow up, when I really started to get some crazy strength, when I hit 225 for the first time. Trust me, guys, I would not skim out on this. Now that's going to mark the end of the video, guys. I really hope I could teach you something about upper lower and try and put you guys on with this great split. Program it and let me know how it works out for you guys, whether your strength shoots up, whether you notice more hypertrophy, more gains. Let me know in the comments down below. And if you guys have any questions, specifically anything in this video or external towards this video, please let me know in the comment section. As always, God bless all of you, and all glory be to God.